welcome to this episode. So in today's episode, we're just going to continue with our API. So today we are starting episode 5. And in our previous episode, we looked at the shop. So we had done the user previously, and then we went and did the shop, and we did a couple of routes in the both the user and the shop. So there was one endpoint specifically in the user that we did not finish, and that was update user. Okay, so I want to start by actually finishing up this update user, and then so that we move on to the today's modules. So I'm just going to go to this update user. So if you just look at this, we had update user by ID controller. And the first thing we did, we actually got the ID, and then also we have all these details. Okay, so I'm just also going to add a scenario where someone sends a password. Okay, however much we had the password route done alone. I'm just also going to include it here just in case you want to receive it. So the first thing you're just going to do is actually first find the existing user. So I'm just going to write the steps here. So the steps we want to find is we need to find existing user. Okay, and of course if the user does not exist, so if user does not exist, okay, we return 404, just like that. And if a user exists, then we have to do more couple checks. If the email, username, and the phone are unique, they have to be unique. And if they are unique, then we can just go ahead and we update. Actually, we have to hash the password if it exists. Just like this. And then finally just update user, and then finally return the updated user without pass. Okay, let's just start with the first one, which is going to be existing user. So here we're just going to go here and we get the existing user. So existing user is going to be db.user.find unique, and you're just going to find the existing user. And if a user does not exist, and this is this here, just like this. If the user does not exist, and this is going to be existing user. If no existing user, then we return 404 and we say user not found. Okay, and then if the user exists, so it means if we pass this check, that means the user actually exists. Then now we go ahead and check if these are unique. And now we know that the only person who has this email and the username and the phone is only this person. So we can first do the first check. Okay, so I'm just going to go to the create user and actually get those checks. They will be somehow just different, but let me just get them here. Okay, I'm just going to get one of the errors. just going to get them here and the checks here. Copy. Let's go to update user. So we need to do the checks here. Okay. So before you do the check, we need just to do one thing. So we need to do, for instance, if, so you have to do an if statement. For instance, if email, okay, and existing user and email, just going to say and email is not equal to existing user dot email. So if this is not equal to that, then we check the existing user by email, and then inside here is what we're just going to do this check. The check has to be inside here. So after doing this, we can check if existing user by email, then we return email is already taken. And this only happens if the existing the email is not equal the existing user email. That means is changing the email. Okay. The same thing you're going to do for the phone. So just going to check if the phone is there and the provided phone number is not equal to existing user dot phone. If it is the case, then we check, and then down here I can just go ahead and put this error just like this. If existing user by phone, then we just go ahead and return this error. And lastly, I'm just going to do if username and username not equal to existing user. So not equal to existing user dot username. And then we can do this check. Just going to do this check. Let me just copy for this one. Existing user by username. And this is going to be username. And if that is true, then inside here, just going to go ahead and check if it exists. Just actually return. Just put the return here, just like this. Even here, we just return this, and finally here we do return just like that. Okay, great. So we have all these checks. So then we hash the password if it exists. So we're just going to say let hashed password, let hashed password equal to, so already we know that the existing user dot password is hashed at this point. So this one is hashed. Okay. So we can just go ahead, and if he updates it, we're just going to go and we change it. Okay, so you can just say if password, and then uh, password, I think we already have it in the things here. We are destructuring it here, and it seems it is not being seen. Let me make sure that I'm not defining it in any of these if statements. More especially the hashing and here. Here is saying block scoped variable password used before its declaration. I hope that we have it inside here. Uh, I don't know why here it is not being seen. Yeah, so which spelling do I have here? I think the same spelling password. Um, I just wanted to check if the password exists. Just a second. So if the password is provided, I want to just say hashed password is going to be equal to decrypt. It's going to be await. I think we're supposed to await this. Await decrypt. Await decrypt dot hash, and then it takes in, I think supposed to be password, and then 10 here, just like this. I'm not sure why the password is not being seen at this point. So in the request here, passing email, phone number, gender, image. I don't know why the password is not being seen. You can see it here. Hmm. And if we just look at the error, is saying block scope to value password used before its declaration. Password is used before being assigned. What? So even if I have this, Okay, so they're saying here, now they're saying cannot redeclare block scoped variable password. Um, okay, so I think they're still looking at this down here. Never mind this one. We're just going to reach this side. Let's first move on here. So we have the hashed password. I didn't know you have to put this inside the try catch. That's really weird. Let me just also put this one inside the try catch. So we have the ID and also we receive all this data. So we have checked here the uniqueness of these three. Now we first get the hashed password to be existing user.password, and if the password is provided, then we hash this password like so. And then now after this, we need to go ahead and update the user. I'm just going to add this and put it here in the hash. And then here we have to update the user. So the user, updated user is going to be await user.update ID, and then I can pass in the password to be actually hashed password, just like this. Okay. Okay, so now the last thing you need to do is now to return the updated user without the password. So we just go ahead and comment this. So here we just need to rename this to something like um, user pass. Okay, just like this, and then we return others. Okay, yeah, so this one marks the updated user, user update user by ID route, and we have also done that. Great. So I'm just going to go straight away into today's models, and today we're just going to look at the two models, the customer model and the supplier model. And we had already looked at the beginning of this series. We had started with the customer model as an example, but we did not really give it the details of how it's supposed to be in in this case for this series. So here we just like updated it and give it more details than it was in the beginning. So in the beginning, we're using it as an example, see how we can perform CRUD. If you just remember, go up here, you select the customer model while using it, name, email, and phone, just for purposes of just learning how to create a model and how to use it to create some of the endpoints. So in this video, we're just going to want to expand it and create it actually the way it's supposed to be. So I'm just going to go ahead and modify it and give it more things. Okay. So I will just go ahead and copy this model. So I always use these beautiful images you see here, use here. I always generate them using Ray.so. So you can also start using it. It's a really nice tool. I use it on daily basis. And they also have other things like prompts and what you can just always check some of other tools created by this guy. This is really nice tool. So I'm just going to go ahead and copy this model, and let me just go ahead and modify it with this existing one. Okay, and I'm just going to see these errors. I think we already have enum. Let me see. Yeah, we already have enum of gender. That's why we don't need this one. I'm just going to leave it maybe. Okay, let's just leave it there like that. Remove this one. So if you look at the details we have just added other things. Sorry, we have added other things like customer type. So the customer can be of type, for instance, retail, wholesaler, distributor, or other, depending on what does he do. And then we have first name, last name, phone, which should be unique. You don't have two customers with the same phone number. And then we have gender, which is of type gender. We have the gender down here, which is male and female. Then we have max credit limit. This one is going to help us when we are giving out credits. So this particular client wants to be giving credits to the customers, so they can take credit, but then it has to have a limit. So for instance, you can say this person, let's start first giving him maybe 100,000, and we see how he's going to pay it back. And also has this max credit days. How many days is he supposed to pay back this credit? So the day they take credit, you start counting the days, and then you can also have reminders set based on this. Okay, and then we have tax pin, date of birth, email, which should also be unique, national ID, and then we have country, we have location, where they are located. Okay, so some of the data we need from the customer. So you just simply just need to expand a little bit on the models, and we include in more other details. So just going to look at the ones someone is supposed to enter, for instance, first name, last name, phone number, and the gender. So at the gender, we can make sure like, is going to send one, but if you wanted, you could also just give it a default. Then max credit limit, supposed to provide it, and then max credit days. Tax pin is not required. Date of birth. Email. I think email should be. Sometimes they don't provide email. That's why like we need to leave it like this. National ID. I think just going to call it NIN number, just like this. National ID number. Yeah, just going to call it NIN, just like this. National ID number. That's how we normally give it as a short this side. So just going to create an in, and then we have the country location. Country has to be provided, yeah, and the location. Yeah, some of these details are very crucial. I'm just going to put these two up here so that we just see the ones which are required. Okay, so this one is the updated one. So I'm just going to copy these details and we go to the customers. So for the customers, we had done already a good job. So if you just look in the routes, you see that we already have these customer route with three routes. They create, they get, and they get single, And let's check if we have its route. Let's in the index. So in index, you can see we have the customer route. And this is the customers. We have the create customer, and we're also going to start with this one, updating this one. And what we simply update is the data that enters in here. And you might be wondering, why do we always destructure data? And the one thing that you can say why we always destructure data, one is to make sure that we access some of these checks we are going to do, And the most important one, why we always destructure, is that someone can actually inject other malicious data. Let's say you are accepting all the body. Okay, if you had a const body here, and then you come and say create data is equal body, someone can inject any other fields that they want here, and you can easily save them into the DB. So to avoid that, you always destructure here so that you save exactly what you want from this request. So even if there was some other fields that were attached to the request body, they will not be actually destructured out. They will remain on the body, and eventually they will not go to the DB. Okay, so having said that, I'm just going to go here in the schema and get all the data that we need to capture. As we see here, we have the customer type. I'm just going to press Alt and then select all these other details. Sorry. I'm just going to select all these. Okay. Okay, so I've selected all of them. I'm just going to go back to the customer here, and this part where we actually receive. Now we have this name, the customer name. Just going to write first name and last name this time, just like this. Okay, so before we do anything, we need to go ahead and delete all existing customers. Okay. Okay, let's just first add the commas to these. Just add commas. So just add commas. Okay. Good. So you have all these details, email. Now the name. You could also add the name, and then you join the two. As you can see here, for instance, the name. So if you wanted, you could also include the name, but it is actually not necessary. So I'm just going to remove this name, just like this. So I'm just going to go to, okay, let me just go ahead and just like maybe add the name. Do we really need to add the name? We could just go here and the schema. So if we wanted, we could just add the name, and the name will be a combination of these two. And the question would be, why are we adding the name when we have first name and last name? Mm, let's just leave it. It would be saving extra space in our DB. There is no need for it for sure. So I'm just going to go and first run npx Prisma Studio. So I'm just going to run here, clear, and npx Prisma Studio. And why I'm just doing this is that the data is totally somehow different. Sorry, what did I run? npx Prisma. So npx Prisma Studio, just like this. Okay, I need to look for the customers. and we have some errors. If you just go down here, there is enum customer. Okay, it is already taking in the new. It is already taking in the new customer. Hmm. Okay, I thought it shouldn't take this one. We're just going to duplicate this and let's go back to the previous one. Okay, just first go to the previous one. This one. Okay, before if I stop this and start again and see now. Okay, so let's first go ahead and delete these two customers because they had the name and in the new ones we don't have it. So it will cause a conflict. So let's delete these ones and they are gone. So now we can now just get the new one, copy this and paste it here. So you now can have a new one. I'm just going to do this one. Okay. So we have the updated one now. And let's just go back to this customer here. So you have to go ahead and do this. Now, there is one thing we have to check. I think we have to check the phone and email. You can just like see here. Everything you have it unique here. So you can see we have here these three. You can't have the phone number, email, and name number. They should be always unique. So we're just going to have those three checks. So I'm just going to go here and then do those three checks. So we have to do the checks. So here we receive the data of which we have here, just like so. Receive the data of which we do here. Wait. Const. Just leave it like that. So here is we receive the data. Let's just check if phone, email, and name are unique. So they have to be unique. And then if they are unique, then we can create the user. Okay, and then sorry, create the customer. And then we can just go ahead and return the created customer. Let's start with checking if these are unique. So you can just start by checking for the phone. So here you can just say const customer by email. So here you can say existing customer by phone, and this would be equal to await db. So we need to first push. You can just go ahead and first run db push, and this is aimed at generating a new Prisma client. So I'm just going to say Control C, npx Prisma. You need also to stop the server. So let me just copy here. It's going to be npx prisma db push, and this also run npm run dave. Okay, so you can see just generated also Prisma client. Now we can just go back here and let's say db dot customer dot find unique. So you can just say find unique, and we're just going to pass in where, and we are passing in the phone. This is by the phone, because this is just like our existing customer by phone. And if and the fact that the phone is required, you have also taken into consideration of that the phone here is actually just like a required field, so that's why you're not putting any if statement on it. So here you can just say existing customer by phone. We first get this phone here, and we just say if there is this existing customer, then we can just go ahead and return response dot status. So we can first give the status of 409 conflict, and then we can also go ahead and give return a JSON, and here we just always return our error, which in this case is going to be that user just going to create here customer, say customer with this customer with this phone. Actually you can just say here phone, just say phone number, and then we specify the phone number. Here the phone is already taken, is already, you can just say even already in use. Okay, great. So this is the error. So just going to go ahead and check now for the email in a similarly. Now for the email, we have to check actually before we do it if it is provided, because in some cases, if it is not required, as you can see here in the schema, like for instance, email is not a required field, so we cannot just check it direct. We can just check only if it is provided. So you can just say if email, and then we can just go ahead and check for this existing customer by email. So it's going to be where, and then here we just have email, and then here's going to be existing customer by email, and you can just say email is this. So you can say email, and here email is already in use by another customer. Okay, great. So we have that error. Now, the last one, which is the NIN number. So we can also first check if NIN is required. As you can see here, it is not required. So we're just going to just to do the same thing, make an if statement, just like so. So we can just say if NIN, if it is provided, then we can just find existing customer by NIN. Okay, and we can just say where, here just going to say NIN, just like this. And here we can just say existing customer by NIN, and here we can just say NIN, and here's going to be NIN is already in use. So after checking all these three checks, now at this point we can go ahead and create the user. So I'm just going to go here and just create the user like this. Sorry, the customer. So the customer is going to be create, And let me just go here, copy all these details. So from here up to here, I'm just going to copy and then paste all this data here, just like so. And in all this is we want to return them. There is nothing we are going to hide. So I'm just going to say return 201 new customer. And now for getting customers is exactly the same way. For these ones, they will not change. So just going to go ahead and test out if this works actually in the Postman. So we already had, I think, IPOS users and test. So this one we had code test actually was, I think, customers. Yeah. So I'm just going to go ahead and rename this to, actually, I'm just going to rename this to customers. So customers, just like so. And let's go ahead and add some fewer endpoints. So if right now you try to get a list of customers back, you should just get an empty array. There is no any customer. But let's just go ahead and duplicate this request to duplicate this. And I'm just going to name it. So the first one, get customers. This one is going to be create customer, create customer. And I'm just going to, this one I think was not saved. Always save your requests. I'm just going to go here and let's copy this URL. And let me paste it here. First of all, I'm just going to change this to a post. Okay. And then let's go to body here. Sorry, let's go to, you just need to go to, so change this to save first of all. And I'm just going to change this to raw, just like this, while you type in the JSON. So the easy way is to put these, and let me go ahead and bring all these. We can copy all these things here. We are passing in the customer type, and all these ones, we need to bring them in. Just going to copy like this. So for instance, if the NIN number, the way you see the NIN, you can also do validation. I think I'm just going to do validation on the client and the client. When that time reaches, and I'm showing you how to use React Native, we'll be doing all these checks on the client. So I'm just going to go ahead and go in the Postman, and let me paste all these ones. So let's go ahead and give this, for instance, the customer type. Okay, so I'm just going to go ahead and give this as a retail. And you remember the customer type is of type. If you just go here, customer type is here of this type, customer type, which the values must be these ones. So it must be one of these ones. Okay, so I'm just going to provide that. I'll provide retail here. So let's go ahead and create the first name, who is going to be, for instance, maybe Joel. And let's say the last name. The last name is going to be Smith. So just say here Smith. And there's the phone number. Just go ahead and provide the phone number of this here. Okay. And the gender is also an inner. So this one we can also provide male. And then the country, we're just going to provide Uganda. So just going to say here Uganda. Location, we're just going to say is located maybe in Chireka, Kampala. This is the location. Max credit is going to be 200,000 UGX. So here I'm just going to provide 200,000 just like this. And then this one is going to be an payback in 1 month's time. So max credit days is going to be 30. So here just going to be 30. Then tax pin is also going to be some number. Let's just say Quate here. And then we put something like this. Okay. Date of birth. Then just check, is date of birth required? Okay, it is not required with the tax pin. So that means I can just remove it. So this is not required. And then now we go to the email, which is going to be something like smith at gmail.com at gmail.com. And finally is the NIN number. So you could just also not provide NIN, but let me just go ahead and provide it. Okay, so this is going to be like some random number here. Okay, so we have now all the data. So let's just try to send this and see if it will work. We can save this JSON. You can also click on beautify to make sure that they are done rightly. Beautify is just the way you see prettier. So for JSON. Okay, so we have all these details. I'm just going to go ahead and send them and we see if we have any success. I will just send here, post request, and yep. So you see here we have a new customer with all these details. Now, if we just go to get customers here on top, let's go ahead and send the request. And you can see here we get back the list of customers. Okay, so that's great. And that one is endpoint is working very well with these other 3 endpoints we had done. Okay, these ones we had done in the controllers. At least we have these get customers, and even getting a single customer, we can test that endpoint. Just going to duplicate this endpoint here. Okay, and I'm just going to get this get single customer, get single customer, and you can always just get this. Let me just save. Let me just go here to customers and let's get the ID of this customer here. And you're just going to say stock ID, and we can send this. And you see we have the customer back. So these 3 endpoints are working perfectly. Okay, so let me check on my time right now. Okay, so we still have a few minutes, and I'm just going now to work on this second one. Okay, so in the second model, so here we are not added, as you can see, we are not adding delete. Okay, we start like adding those endpoints in a second. We'll be completing them just like this. We could just like actually add like the delete, but if you just like check in most of these ones, we didn't actually add like the delete. We're just going to add those endpoints later on. And the only thing why I'm just like not finishing all the endpoints at this point is that my team actually wants to start using this API. They have already started like creating the screens for the app. So I need to finish all these endpoints and give them these endpoints, they start using them. And one endpoint that they will not use directly at first is going to be the delete. But eventually we're just going to put the delete, but it's something we can just like maybe actually just like do update and delete later on. Okay, so I'm just going to be like hurrying up to first actually start on these endpoints, and then as they demand them, I'll be actually putting them as we go. So having said that, I'm just going to go and look at our second model, which is going to be actually the supplier model. So the supplier has also almost the same details as you can see here. I'm just going to first bring it in. So just go to this supplier here. I'm just going to copy and just bring in the supplier here down in the schema. Scroll down just like this, supplier. Okay. So as you can see here, the first thing has also the supplier type. So the supplier can be of a different type, can be a manufacturer, can be a distributor, wholesaler, a retailer. So a supplier can be of different kind. So that's why we have the supplier type. Then we have the name of the supplier. So we could also just like add first name and last name, I guess. But just like leave it there as a name because this can be the name of the company. The supplier might be just a company, not necessarily having first name, last name as the person. And that's why we have here the contact person, who can be the contact person for this supplier. And then we have the phone number and the email as usual, which are unique. We have location and country, and then we have website, which is not required, but as a string. We have tax pin also, and then we have registration number, which is also unique. Okay, and I'm just going to change this to reg. That's like a very big word. We're just going to remember that this is a registration number. We have bank account number, and then the bank name, and then the payment terms, the logo, and there is a default logo here. You're just going to get a photo for the default if for this, and then ratings, and then the notes. Okay, yeah, so that's the details we want on the customer, sorry, on the supplier, some of the details. So I'm just going to go ahead and look for this a default logo we can add on the for the supplier. So you can just come here and you say like logo default. By the way, we could just like go ahead and get this from let me just see we could just go to flat icons, and then we can just like I don't know if we can just like search something like logo or default logo. I'm not so sure. If we searched for just logo, they will just give us some of these popular logos. I'm just going to say default logo. Maybe just say default uh, logo. Not sure that is if a popular search, but seems they don't have anything. Just say default. Here we have different profile, avatar, default image. Just look at the default images. Yeah, we can just look at any of these ones and we just give it as a default. I'm just going to see. Okay, I'm just going to use this one. It doesn't look fancy, but maybe I'm just going to use that. Just go continue moving down, see if okay. I'm just going to use any of these ones. I'm just going to take the shadow color that I'd chosen here, download this PNG like this, and we into downloads like so, just here. So you can just also go ahead and go to upload thing, and we upload it, and then we get the default image. So I'm just going to go there like this. And you can just get any of my apps here, which is going to be maybe this one. And let me just go ahead and go to the files. Let me upload this here like this. Okay, so after getting this default image, I'm just going to copy this URL, and then we can just use it as a default logo, just like this. Okay, so if you don't provide the logo, and then we have the default. Okay, so just go ahead and start working onto this one. So the first thing is we can just go ahead and create the routes. So I can just go here. So I will duplicate the customers because we're going to do the same routes. Duplicate these to supplier, just like so. And the first thing to do is actually create this. I will first remove these ones. The first thing I'm just going to do is to create a route. So just go here and just say supplier route. Const supplier router, just like this. And I'm just going to go ahead and add this router in all these places, just like this, supplier router. And this express, import express from express. So let's just go ahead and create these are going to be suppliers. These endpoints, this one's going to be suppliers, suppliers, and even suppliers here. So we're just going to create this one, and let's go ahead and create these three. Let's go ahead and create these three controllers. So I'm just going to go in the controllers, duplicate the one for customers, like so. I'm just going to go ahead and say suppliers, and this is how you move faster. Okay, don't have just like to repeat things you have already done. So you can just go here and say create supplier, just like this. And let's go ahead and copy all the necessary data we need from the schema. So the supplier type, name, contact person, phone, email, location, country, website, tax pin, reg number, account, bank name, payment terms, logo, rating, and the notes. So copy these ones, and let's go to the suppliers here. Sorry, this side. And let's go ahead and receive all these here. I'm just going to go ahead and add the commas. Just add the commas. the commas. Okay, great. So we have all these added on the comma, and we're just going to first check for the unique ones. As you can see, the first one. Before we do this, let's first push. So just going to make stop the server and let's push. npx prisma db push and run div. Why we always push every after update is that we need to generate a new Prisma client. Okay, so after generating a new Prisma client, now if you just come here, for instance, existing supplier by by phone, it is going to be db dot here. Now you will see the supplier now is there. Now find unique where phone. Okay, and we can just say const existing supplier by phone. I can say this phone number is already in use. So the same thing I'm just going to do is the email. So we do existing supplier by email, supplier by email, and we are finding not in customer but in supplier. And if it exists, then we return this. And then the final one, we still have things like, if you go to the schema, the unique one we have is another one is reg number. Yeah, so we have the reg number. We have to check the reg number or the registration number. So just go inside here. So I'm just going to say reg number, and you say existing supplier by registration number, existing supplier by reg number is going to be supplier here, where reg number, just like this. And you're just going to have here existing supplier by reg number, and we can just say registration number, and here we can just put reg number is already in use. So after doing those checks, now we can just go ahead and create the supplier here. And you're just going to say new supplier is going to be our db.supplier. And let's go ahead and add the data we need. Just simply copy this, copy all these details like so, Ctrl C. So when you just come here, we simply add them here like this. Save. Okay, so here just return the created supplier. And we can just come here, new supplier. Just like this. Now, all these other ones is going to remain gate suppliers. And we're just going to say here suppliers. Await db supplier. Okay, and then here get supplier by id, supplier by id, and then we have here supplier, and then here we return the supplier. So you can just come here, supplier. Okay, so we have all the three endpoints, and now here in the route we can just come here and we say create supplier, get suppliers, and then here is going to be get supplier by ID, just like this. So we have all these three endpoints we have created. The next thing we have to do is to test it. So I'm just going to remove this. The next thing to do is to test this if it works properly. So first of all is to create the folder for it. And one thing I can just do is to first save all these ones, and then I will just simply duplicate it. Just save the just like this. It is good to save them. And now afterwards, I can just duplicate the whole entire folder. So duplicate. Okay, and I can just go here and I call this suppliers. And then I can just say the first one is going to be get suppliers. So you can just come here and say get suppliers. And you can just come also here and say suppliers. And you can call this. Okay, so let's first check these endpoint suppliers. The spelling of suppliers. Gate suppliers. Let's go and see. So this is just like insinuating that we don't have this 404 is saying it is not finding this route. Let's first go on the terminal and see. Okay, we have to add it in the index. Okay, so here just go and add this in API, and then here we have to have the supplier router, just like this, as we had all others. So now if I just go back here and add supplier, we should just have back a response. Let me just move this up here so we have an empty array. Let's go ahead to create supplier instead here. And then we have suppliers, just like this. And this one is a post. You can always save these requests. And let's go to the body and we provide the JSON. So the easy way to provide the JSON is to go and copy all these values inside the supplier. So just simply copy these ones like so. And let's go ahead and add them here in this JSON, just like this. Okay, so I will remove the ones which are not required. I can just check these ones from this here, starting from the notes rating, logo, payment terms, bank name, and all these are not required. I'll just go and remove them. So the notes rating, payment up to this point, I think including the reg number, they are not required. So I'll just give you details for purposes of saving time. So the non-required fields, these ones can be always empty, and also the reg number can be empty. Then we have these other ones like website. Okay, let me just like put the remaining details. So the supplier name, supplier type, we also have this enum, which we have, for instance, the manufacturer. So I'm just copy this. So here, supplier type, I can start by saying it is manufacturer. The name, is I can say JB and company, I don't know, and then we can have the contact person as Gerard Cohen or something. The phone number. So the phone number can be 25, maybe this is the phone number. Let's say the email. So the email will be something like JB company at jb.com, and maybe they just go just say here sales, and then location, it is also going to put it in here. Then country, okay, here is going to be this, and then the country is going to be this, and then website, I just put something like this, www.google.com, something like this, tax spin. I'm just going to add this here. Okay, so we have all these details. Just going to go to JSON and we can beautify this. Let's go ahead and send this data. Okay, so we have a bad request. Okay, and now you can just look at the error. Double quoted property name JSON. Double, I don't know what they mean by that. Okay, I think maybe just try one more time. Okay. So here we just have these created, and you can see on the logo, they have added the default one, and all these other ones, they just add them to be null. Okay, great. So if we just go to gate suppliers one more time and send this, you see we have this supplier, and if we just go get single supplier, so this one is going to be get single supplier, and first of all, by the way, this is a good one. If someone sends, if we just go to suppliers and someone sends this here, and it is not this one, so we're supposed to find if it exists here, wherever we just be given to find the get one single supplier. It's always good to first actually find if this exists. So you can just say on supplier, and if this supplier does not exist, if no such a supplier, okay, then we have also to give the response. So you can just say return response dot status of 404. Just going to say 404, then dot JSON. So you can just write JSON, and let's go and return error of supplier not found. not found. And then we can just also have the data of null, data null. Okay, and this check we can always add it on all of them. Let's go to the customers where we have the customer by this. Just going to add this if customer is not there, and also the shop. Let's see. Okay, the shop here it has it, and then where we have the user also. I think we already have it. Yeah, great. So just go ahead and find this. So if we try to find by this ID, we should just like, okay, this is a customer. Let's just add here supplier. Okay, so you see supplier not found. Okay, and if we just go to suppliers, we get this ID, and then we find supplier with this ID, then we should just return back the supplier. Okay, so we have also the suppliers done. Okay, so if when I check on my time here, it is already 1 hour. So I'm just going to stop here for this episode, and I will see you in the next one.